Your AMPR stands for your AM personal routine. What I notice about CEOs, top producing agents, they all have a ritual that they go through in the morning to be able to put themselves in optimum state.
So, first question, Coach Pipes, I'd love to have our folks, the ShareGroup folks, know a little bit more about the realtors are bombarded by leads and coaching and recruitment. So there's a lot coming at them.
Yeah.
And if you go, I really identify with G3 Nation and Coach Pipes for these reasons. Who are you reaching out to specifically? Tell me what it's like to be a G3 client and who's really having success with you. So we can kind of tailor that message for people who need to know all about Coach Pipes, because the most experienced and I would say one of the most successful real estate coaches in the business is talking to this little share group that has a lot of cold calling, hardworking, prospecting realtors. But I would say most of our folks don't have a coach that they're paying to guide their career development. So why is that an important investment, and what do you specifically bring that's unique compared to all the other name brands that you compete with, right?
For sure, brother. And I think we talked a little bit about this on previous calls, and I think it's important to understand background and history because, Tim, it just seems like somebody sells 6 homes and they're a coach now at this point. You know what I mean? And so, like, it really is the unfortunate component of the industry itself. However, I have been in the space of real estate. It'll be 32 years as of August. My mother was a real estate agent. I watched her struggle. She got out of real estate, went back to being a paralegal. She exposed me to a lot of personal growth and development at a very young age, at about 13 years old. Fast forward to when I was 21 years old, in a PhD program at University of California at Irvine to be able to actually teach comparative literature, I met a man by the name of Mike Ferry. And when I met Mike Ferry, who I just was, in fact, I keep him, it is one book that I keep here always, which is, Mike's Straight to the Point. When I met Mike, he said, "Hey, let me do this." And I'd never sold real estate at the time, and he was running a little experiment where he said, "Let's take some kids out of college. I had exposure to real estate, and let's teach them how to coach." Well, it was an interesting experiment. He brought about 6 people in. I was the only one that lasted. Took what he taught me. And started my own real estate team. And in that time, I moved from Mike to Gary Keller and got a chance to work with Gary Keller, right? And so, and I'm sharing all this with you guys, not to impress you, but to just to give you the background of how all of this came into this strategy of G3. Taking the best from Mike Ferry for about 15 years, taking the best from Gary Keller on scaling teams and growing them. And, spent a stint with Keller and Diana Kokoska, helping them launch and run their BOLD program and their MAPS coaching, right? Obviously at Mike Ferry, I was one of the primary coaches and also led all of his speakers eventually when Tom Ferry, his son, left and started his own gig. Ironically enough, after Gary Keller bounced, after about 4 or 5 years with him, and Tom came to me and said, "Pipes, man, we've got about 20 coaches right now. We want to grow this. We want it to get larger. You're the guy that can come in and I think really fill a gap and a need, which is the skill-based training that I was really known for at the time and still am right now, to be able to take agents, teach them what to say, how to say it, how to present, how to convert leads, how to do an effective listing presentation, handle objections, etc. Right? So had the fortune of working with him and scaling that to where we had 174 coaches, and I was the one that did all the training for the coaches, right, as well as the primary speaker next to Tom. And then obviously now when in a conversation with Tom, because you asked me who is our client, well, we're not for everyone, right? Because our goal and our commitment was we wanted to work with men and women that treated this business like a business, not someone that could fog a mirror and had a credit card, right? Because there's models out there, no offense to them, it works, right? But ours was a little bit unique because we said we want to find that person like Kathy Ray, right? That's like, I'm committed, I absolutely am in, I'm treating this like a business, I'm earning $100, $200, $250, $300,000 a year, and I want to go to 7 figures. Well, we codified, synthesized that model. We now have 58 people over the course of the last 4 years that have gone over that $1 million mark following this system. So that's who we're for, right? Now, does that mean that we ignore the solo agent that never wants to get to $1 million? No, we just tell them, hey, let's get you to wherever you want to go and have you do it in half time, right? And, be able to actually follow the system and follow the model. Right now, our average client will sell about 28 or 29 homes per year. That's exclusive of the people that I coach that earn about 3.75 million in GCI, 3.8 million GCI for the larger teams that we coach. So we got two silos, one which is like larger teams that myself and a couple of my coaches coach. Then there's the individual agents that coach with one of my 10 or 11 coaches that we have. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for breaking that down. And you got to imagine that if you get a coaching program that's $99 or $300 a month, that you're not going to get the FaceTime and the deep dive to really build yourself up from where you are. And so there's so many businesses out there that are creating automated coaching and content where you're watching a video, you're doing something online, but I'm not talking to somebody who's really addressing my needs unique as they are as a realtor and what challenges I have. And to figure out what those are, that's got to be about the hardest part of having somebody kind of break out and really be amazing from where they were, right?
Well, and I left out, yeah, for sure. I left out a really critical component, which was in 2011, we launched our Utah Real Estate Professionals team, right? And we grew that to four different locations when we were at our peak here in Utah, right? We're all the way from the border of Arizona all the way up to the top of Idaho. We launched in East Bay, San Francisco, San Jose. So we took the principles and because I noticed something in 2011, I looked at it and I said, this model of real estate's changing. Prior to 2011, it was old school grind. I mean, you could still market in Carson, you'll appreciate that. There were these things called newspapers that real estate agents used to actually market inside of. And the model shifted when the online lead generation really came to play with Boomtown. And so I had a coaching client at that time that I was working with at Keller Williams, and she said, Wendy Lockhart was her name. And she said, God, we're getting a lot of leads. And I said, oh, really? How many per month? And I'm thinking 30 or 40. She goes, we're getting about 300 to 350 per month. And I went, what the hell are you doing? And at that moment, I knew I needed to go back into the business because I wasn't selling at that time. I needed to figure out what was going on, figure out that model. And so we built our Utah Real Estate Professionals, SF Real Estate Professionals, East Bay, and then San Diego Real Estate Professionals, and grew that, sold it to the team, back to one of my team members in 2016, 2017. Now all I do is this. So, I think critical component is being in the trenches, knowing what it takes, having gotten bloodied and bruised and all that other wonderful stuff, man. It's invaluable in understanding the psyche and understanding the challenges and the tribulations that an agent goes through, which are a lot, you know what I mean?
Right.
And today, this is really exciting, guys. And I hope all of you guys pay attention to what's going on economically right now. Jerome Powell, and that's one of the things that we teach. What we teach is called education-based value-driven selling, EBVD. And what that means is that our job as salespeople has really evolved into, and for the consumer, is to educate them, because there's false narratives out there about what's going on in the market, peddled by the media, and agents now have a even stronger responsibility to offset that narrative, that false narrative, with the reality of what's taking place, which requires a high level of an educated agent, more so now than ever, with the ease of information that consumers have at their fingertips, right? Whether it be YouTube or whether it be Meta or any of the platforms that they're there, people can get information. But the challenge is the information is typically skewed, or it's algorithmically driven to be able to keep them inside some funnel, of social media, and so they'll shock and awe. So the best agents that we have right now that are crushing it, and it's sort of interesting because all but one of my clients, my personal clients right now, are having their best year ever right now, Timmy. You know what I mean? And it's
Right.
in the face of just this really problematic market. Now, Wednesday last week, Jerome Powell came out, peddled some lies. Sorry, I'm not a big Jerome Powell fan. So if I offended anyone, okay, cool. But we saw on Friday, after the Fed did not touch rates, we saw the adjustment on the jobs report, and we saw interest rates drop. This market right now, guys, one of the things I think it's important that you understand is that it's really hampered by affordability. Affordability, the only solution that we have is more inventory, right? To be able to cause prices to hold, stabilize, or come down. We're not going to outbuild the market and the demand. It's just not going to happen. So the only way that we have to be able to actually offset that is through interest rates. And you've got 70+% of buyers have said they're not moving forward until rates come down. Well, we got a 12 basis point drop on Friday. Looking at the mortgage trends right now in the 10-year, we're probably going to get another 3 to 5 basis point drop, putting us for the first time in a long time, I think about 6, 7 months, at 6.58, 6.59. The market will ignite in the second half of this year. Now we have an 85% chance of a rate cut in September, up from 35% last week, right? On the Fed futures. We've got a 93% chance of one in October, and we've got a 96 or 99% chance of one in December. So guys, we've been sitting on this proverbial rocket with the fuse lit, just going, when are we going to take off? And grinding it out with headwinds in front of us, and it's about to shift and change. And I've been preaching this for a while. I just got it wrong by about 6 months, right? Because no one could have figured out that Trump was going to throw some tariffs in the mix, and it sort of screwed all projections and predicates up at that point. So yeah,
Okay.
so it's about to get good,
That
dude.
makes-
It's about to get fun,
that makes
and it's
sense.
about to get exciting.
That's awesome. So that's why we talk about let's find out who those intended sellers are now by talking with them, so that when it does happen, they've already selected you as their realtor. You've created that relationship. You've created trust by following up, being consistent in your communications, and checking in with them. It takes that one conversation and a handshake, and then they're your client until when they're ready to go, they let you know. That's kind of the model that we're following right here. So I've got, I think the Share Group has 4 or 5 videos. This is probably your 6th time presenting. I don't want to get to the subject matter, which is running your day like a 7-figure CEO. But if they love what you have to say, like I do, there's an event that's close to us in LA coming up. So if we can
You're actually speaking at that event, dude, which is
thank
like
you.
one of the first. I'm really excited, man, because it's one of the first times I've had the opportunity to have you on stage to really talk about data, to talk about farming, to talk about how to use data. Like, I'm really pumped, and I am grateful.
Nice.
Tim, like, super grateful that you're going to be sharing, your insight to the group as well too. So yeah, it's called our L7 event, and the L7 event is an event. It's October the 13th, 14th, and 15th. The 12th is a private mastermind that is for 7-figure earners or people that are on that path. But the actual event is 13th, 14th, and 15th, and we've completely unpacked, codified, synthesized, put together the entire process where in the next 24 to 36 months, if you follow it, you'll actually be above that 7-figure mark if you just simply surrender to the process. So, and I think Sherry from my team is on here, and she can put the information there. And we're not just giving you info, we're putting people on stage that are doing it, have done it, and they're sharing how it is, their insights and all of their pro hacks and tips and tricks and all the secrets as well too. So it's going to be amazing.
Nice.
There'll be over 40 speakers at the event actually. So
Fantastic.
yeah,
We're excited about that for sure.
yeah, me too. Yes.
All right. So we dig in.
Yeah, let's dig in, man. Like, let's
All
absolutely
right.
dig in. Always fascinating to me, Tim, that the exact reason that so many of us, Drew, got into the business is the reason, Kathy, that we don't excel in the business. When you ask a real estate agent, why did you get into real estate? There's typically 2 answers. The reason that we get into real estate in the first place is typically 2 things. If you interview a room or a group of agents, number 1 is because of the money, right? Because we see an opportunity for upside potential. But number 2 is because of the freedom of time, right? I'm just sort of curious for you guys. How many of you guys, just with a thumbs up or a yes or whatever, and I'm going to pull up my chat right here so I can see you guys. There we go. How many of you guys got into real estate with the intent of being your own boss, having your own schedule, right? Being able to set your time, like not have anyone tell you what to do, right? That was a driver in terms of why it is that you chose to get in real estate. Just in the chat, just give me a, yeah, me or whatever, or just like a thumbs up. Yeah. It's typically, and by the way, guys, the more you participate in this, right, by being in the chat and everything else, and if something really resonates, put 100% in there that lets me know that it's something that really impacted you. But that same reason that we got into real estate, which was Kathy Ray, yeah, 32 years ago, is the thing that holds us back, right? Because what we find, Tim, and you see this just as much as I do, agents don't really treat this like a real job. In fact, most of them are hobbyists. And part of what we do inside my organization is teach you how to think, act, and function and run your business like a CEO, right? Like a high level executive, right? And part of that is treating your time differently. Now, you're going to hear me say something today, right? And I want you to write this down as we start it. Write down, I do not have a time management issue. I've got a choice management challenge. I don't have a time management issue. And you hear a lot of these gurus and personal growth and development leaders and some of my competitors talk about manage your time, manage your time, manage your time. Well, realistically, time management is a bunch of BS because you cannot manage time because time is a measure. Does that make sense? Time is a measure in and of itself. So how am I going to manage a measure? You don't. What the game is, if you're going to think like, act like, run your business like a CEO, the game is how can I make better choices with the time that I have? That's what a high-level executive does. If Elon Musk came into your market and said, I'm done with SpaceX, I'm done with Tesla, I'm going to get my real estate license and I'm going to start it right in your backyard. What would be your initial response to that, right? If he did it, Tim Cook did it of Apple, Mary Kay, who I always have had massive respect for her, what she built in the cosmetics industry as well too. What would be your response if you knew that, like, or better yet, Oprah Winfrey, right? Oprah said, I'm coming out of retirement, man. I'm starting my real estate business and it happens to be in your backyard. Just in the chat, what would be your initial response? What would go on in your head? Would you be like, oh yay, more competition, or would it be something different? For most of us, Drew Lundgren, good to see you, dude. I miss you. I hope you're doing fantastic. So yeah, but check this out. Why? Why is it that those individuals would scare the bejesus out of most of us? And it's because we know that they would be able to get things done on a regular basis that we're not. And here's what I want you to write down. Write down this number. Now, I've got a PowerPoint deck. I may or may not use it depending upon how we flow here, but I want you to write this number down. Write down the number 1,440. 1,440. 1,440. It's one of the most important numbers that you will ever look at. For those of you that have been around me, you know that I preach this. I call it the 1440 paradigm. Does anyone know what 1440 paradigm is? What that number represents? Nope. Okay, write down the total number of minutes that you get in a day. Mother Teresa, God rest her soul, how many minutes did she get in a day? 1440. Gandhi, 1440. Trump, 1440. Biden, 1440. Obama, 1440. Tim Cook, Steve Jobs, right? The list goes on and on. Every single one of them had 1,440 minutes. Now, if you look at what they produced and how they moved the world, it wasn't that they did something different with their time. They didn't get more time. They just made better choices. Does that make total sense, guys? Okay. And as a CEO, Jim, right? Jim, like, I love seeing you in the morning on our huddles, and I hope you're doing fantastic, man, in terms of everything that's going on. But watch, when you know and you look at 1,440 minutes and that's all you get, it's a commodity that you don't get any more of, you're going to make that count. Elon Musk has an ability to say yes and no to certain things. Why? Because here's the first step. The first step was understand that there's 1440. Everyone gets it. It's all the same. The second step that I want you to write down, if you're going to run your day like a CEO, is understand the value of your time. Understand the value of your time. How much your time is ultimately really worth. Let's see if I can share this really quick. And I do have that capability. We'll just keep it like this, even though it's not super pretty. Can you guys see that right there? I know the
Yes.
red is a little bit challenging. I've always sort of, but I want it to stand out. There we go. Maybe it's not the red. Maybe it was my eyes without my glasses is why I couldn't see it. But see, let's say I'm coaching Tim and Tim comes to me and he says, Bill, man, I really want to scale my business. I want to grow my business. Well, before I even talk to him about hiring new people, hiring staff, his lead sources, how to be able to optimize those, how to be able to grow those lead sources, get more business from past clients in Sphere, get more online leads, utilize the data that ShareGroup actually gives to be able to make prospecting calls. I'm going to say the first step, and this is what I do with everyone I coach, is we've got to make sure you're making the right choices with your time. And so what you're going to do, and I want all of you to do this right now. I want you to write down what is your goal for this year in income. Now, by the way, with the rates changing more favorably for us and moving in the right direction, all of you, and I said this morning to our G3 Nation, every single one of you should have a much higher goal than what you had prior to this move. Every single one of you. You should be reassessing your goal right now for the end of the year. Because when you have 70% of the consumers saying rates are what's keeping them out of the market, even though, by the way, they have applications in with mortgage companies and they've got purchase application approvals, they're staying on the sidelines. Now with rates coming down to 6.5 to 6 to maybe sub 6 by the end of this year, man, it's going to ignite the market and bring buyers in. So your goal should be more aggressive. But right now, just write down your income goal, your income goal. And please do this, my friends. Please do this, right? Don't just sit there. Now I want you to divide it by 2080. 2080. And what that 2080 represents is the number of billable. See, as a real estate agent, I want to get you to think like an attorney. And an attorney, how many of you guys have ever worked with an attorney before, had the wonderful, amazing, great opportunity to work with an attorney? Yes? Okay. Yeah. Okay. How do they bill? They bill some in 10-minute segments, some in 15-minute segments, some in 30-minute, very few, but they know what they're worth per hour. And you get billed based upon that. Now, what real estate agents do, or salespeople many times do, is they don't look at their time in the same manner. I know for myself, guys, this year, our intent is that the company will generate about $7.5 million. Not bad for our second year. We're really, proud of the work that we've done. And if I'm going to be a CEO that runs a company or an organization at that level, my billable, you can't see it, my billable time is at $3,605 an hour. That is my litmus test. That is my decision-making process. That is what I put everything up against when I'm making that choice. Because we've all heard make better choices. But what we haven't heard is what's the tool that we need to use to be able to determine which choices to make. So would you guys do me a favor? Would you put what your per hour, if you take your goal of income, divide it by the total 2080, right? 2080, right? That's going to give you what your billable per hour is. So in the chat, just show me, what are you worth per hour? You're obviously worth a lot more than that, but what is your time worth in terms of your business based upon your goal? Really important you do this exercise. And then just put it in the chat. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be afraid. Some people it's like $40. Some people it's 400. Some people it's, 800. It doesn't really matter. It's where you are right now. So what is that number in the chat? Omar, awesome. 384, $48, $73, 24, awesome. Beautiful, Rosemary. Now, how do I use this? How do I leverage that? Well, now as you're going through your day, because see, running your day, and I want you to write this down, running your day like a CEO is more about what you say no to than what you say yes to. It's more about what you say no to than what you say yes to. Because if I followed you around, hey, Timmy, if I followed everyone around, if I followed Melissa around, let's say, and Melissa's at $355 per hour, that's about probably $800,000 per year. Melissa, amazing number right there, right? If I followed you around, right, and I just did nothing more than had my notepad and I just wrote down what you did every 15 minutes. Wrote down what you did every 15 minutes. Wrote down what you did every 15 minutes. Do you think I would find things that you're doing that don't justify the dollar per hour that you just wrote down? And the answer is yes. In fact, we do what's called, and if you really want to have some fun with this, hey, Sherry, let's send over to Tim the time and motion study that he can send out to everyone. Tim, what this is, it's a tracking system that these guys can use. Okay. It's a tracking system that they can use to be able to do an audit of their time. If you're going to make a change, you've got to first have a high level of awareness. Does that make sense, guys? Awareness is always the first step to transforming anything. I'm working right now, Tim, on empathy. That's my 30-day focus. Being a more empathetic individual, human being, and leader. Because empathy is a precursor to influence, believe it or not. Like, you talk to any of the great negotiators and they always say empathy like is what causes people to be highly influential. It was Chris Voss that taught me that. This right here, the Puppet Master's Guide, right, talks about it as well too. So do you know what's happening for the first 2 weeks? It's a 21-day reset, excuse me, for the first 10 days. The first 10 days, I'm not working on changing my pattern. I'm working on observing what I'm doing, right? How it is that I'm operating. Why? Because if you're going to transform, change, move anything, you first need to know what you're doing. So here's what I'd recommend for all of you. If you're going to start to make that move into CEO mindset, which is my time is valuable at a specified number, right? I would do a time and motion audit where, and Sherry will send this out, where every 15 minutes, you're keeping track of what you did. And at the end of the day, you're going back and you're saying, cool, Melissa says $355 an hour. What fit that? What was aligned with that? What was unaligned with it? Where was I making decisions on that 355? And where was I doing things that somebody else could actually do? Now, once you complete that, you start to think about what I call the 4Ds, right? Now, please write this down. There's 4Ds that you look at in relationship to your time as a CEO. Number one is this. If I look at an activity that's presented to me, a decision that I need to make, an action that I need to take, and it aligns with my income level, then guess what I do? Number one is do it, right? So cool, it aligns. Therefore, I'm going to say yes to that and I'm going to do it. I'm going to engage in it. Either I'm going to put it in my calendar to be able to be done at a later time, or I'm going to do it immediately depending upon the urgency of it. Number two, right? If it is important, but it's not urgent, it may be something that I need to do, something that fits, but is not pressing, I'm going to delay it. I'll still put it in my calendar, but I won't do it right away. Number three is a big one as you begin to operate. Can I delegate it? Now, I think if you're going to run your business like a CEO with virtual assistants and the likes, there's no reason for you not to have some sort of an assistant to be able to support and assist you and take those non-income producing or non-aligned activities off of your table. Whether it's VOOV, which is a wonderful Central America-based VA company where everyone has a degree. Tim, this company is insane. Like, they're in Nicaragua, everyone has degrees, and they all come into the office to work as VAs.
What's the name of it?
VOOV. Sherry can actually share it with you.
All right, we'll check that out.
Dude, like, it's incredible, right? Created by real estate agents. It's high producing real estate brokerage on the East Coast. And they said, we did it for ourselves. And now a couple of years ago, they rolled it out as a product and a program. But see, I look at that and I go, if I don't have an assistant, I become one, right? If I don't have an assistant, right, I don't have someone to push this off to. And you may go, Coach Pipes, man, dude, like, I don't have the money to be able to do it. In most scenarios, a VA would cost you like at most $8 per hour. That's for like someone like that's super
Good.
badass.
Yeah.
That's 8 times 20 is 160. 160 times 4 is, what is that? 4 times 6 is 20. It's like $800 a month. Well, with that $800 a month, that 20 hours that I'm saving, right? Would I be able, okay, to be able to actually generate more business? Yes. And I take that stuff off of my plate. Okay. Right. Now, here's the fourth D, right? The fourth D is delete it. I'm either going to do it now. I'm going to delay it and put it in my schedule. I'm going to delegate that out. And if I don't have someone to delegate it to, I'm going to work to be able to have the revenue to be able to actually hire someone, right? And then, or I'm just going to delete it. What would you delete? You delete things like social media. You delete things like talking and BSing with people in the office. You delete things like as much paperwork as like, can I get that over to somebody else? So those are the 4Ds. Now you have how much I'm worth, and you got this really simple, and you got the tracking to be able to look at and see, well, where's my time going? And then you've got a litmus test to be able to take your actions and activities and be able to bounce it up against to be able to make a decision, right? So that's the decision-making process. Now let's talk about the day, right? Because if you look at, now, by the way, I do want to open it up, Tim, to any questions around that. Questions, comments, concerns, clarification, hallucination. Let's see in the chat. No. If you get nothing else, my friends, from my conversation with you today than that, and you really implement this and you take on the how much am I worth, where's my time really going right now, and is it aligned, and the 4Ds in terms of decision-making process, I guarantee you will begin to get more done because you'll stop doing the stupid stuff, right? And you'll start doing the meaningful things that are going to drive your business. And I think most of you will find just in that tracking, you're probably wasting 30 to 40% of your day. No joke. That's typically what we find. 30 to 40% of your day is going to things that really don't matter, don't move your business forward, and are just, and excuse my language, dumbass things that we do as real estate agents that really don't move the needle. Okay. Now, success leaves clues. If you want to succeed, you want to look for the clues of other successful individuals that have actually, are along the path a little bit ahead of you. Like, give me 100% if you believe that success leaves clues in the chat. Yes, or a thumbs up or something along those lines, right? Okay, cool. Love it, guys. So I do not teach I want you to control your entire day by a schedule that says from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night, I'm scheduled like every 15 minutes. I think that's unrealistic, okay? But do I think there's segments of the day that you need to own? And the answer is yes. In fact, what I've noticed, and remember, if success leaves clues, we start to look at other top producing agents, team leads, individuals that are truly crushing it. There are 4 segments to your day that matter, guys, that you need to own, right? And for each of you, these could be different in what you plug in there. Write down for me the first segment of your day is called your, if you're going to run it like a CEO, your AM, Alpha Mary, P, Paul, R, Richard, AMPR. Your AMPR, Alpha Mary, Paul, Richard. To the day that I die, I'll continue to talk about it. Your AMPR stands for your AM personal routine. This, Tim, and what I notice about CEOs, top producing agents, they all have a ritual that they go through in the morning to be able to put themselves in optimum state. Now, how many of you ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Tony Robbins?
Quite a bit.
How could you not? Like, you'd have to be under a rock someplace the last 20 to 30 years, right? I remember watching Tony Robbins when he had 30 Days to Personal Power, and it was Gunther Ranke, and it was the marketing team that you'd see at late night. Does anyone remember that? Like late night television, and all of a sudden there's Tony Robbins. Hey, ho, right? Well, Tony, I was in conversation with him. I said, man, what is one of the main reasons that you see that salespeople fail? And here's what he told me. He goes, Bill, one of the number one reasons that salespeople fail, right, or business professionals fail is this. They fail to control their personal state. They fail to control their personal state. Now, what is that? What is your personal state? Your personal state is the energy, the mindset, the focus, the enthusiasm, the optimism that you have as you go through your day, right? Okay. It's your like state of being. Now, when you roll into the second segment of your day, you want to be like, if you're a 12-cylinder Lamborghini, right? You want to have all 12 cylinders open. You don't want to just be getting, Judd, your start, right, at 9 o'clock in the morning or 8:30 in the morning. You want to be rolling in, right, like as focused as at the highest state level that you possibly can. So that morning, from the time that you get up until the time you walk into the office, needs to be designed around one thing, which is creating momentum to do the hard part of your day, which is your AMBR that we're going to talk about here in a second. Okay, your AMBR. So what is this? What is the morning ritual for some of the top CEOs that I work with, some of the team leads that I work with? What do? Well, most of them, you guys ready? And I may lose half of you right here.
Let's go.
And I really don't care because I'm more committed to telling you the truth than having you feel comfortable, right? Number one, all of them are typically up at or before 5 a.m. At or before 5 a.m. Right? Yes, hey, Kathy, yes, there is a 5 a.m., right? There's a 5 p.m. and then there's also a 5 a.m. Why? Why do you see these individuals? Some of them are up at like 3:45, 4 o'clock, 4:30, right? I'm not saying you have to, but I'm saying you got to get up in between that 5 and 6 o'clock time frame. Why? Why do you think it is? Well, nobody else is up. There aren't the distractions. It's an opportunity for you to be able to pour into yourself and to be able to pour into your business, right? You want to be able to get your workout done, right? You want to be able to fill your brain. You want to study the market in the morning. So typically what the morning looks like, and I always teach this, there's 6 principles or 6 pieces to your AM personal routine. Number 1 is this: move your body. 10 to 15 minutes of any type of a workout, even if it's a walk. Number 2, spend 10 to 15 minutes studying the market and listening to something that is education based, right? And also motivate you into action. I love Keeping Current Matters. I love Altos Research with Mike Simonson. I love Housing Wire. These are the key go-tos. Hey, Sherry, if we could send to Tim as well too, all of the resources that he can share with everyone of where they need to be going to do that studying, I would greatly appreciate that. Okay. See, I want to take my mind when it's clear, and this is something I learned from this dude right here, right? Okay. He said, when your mind is clear, the last thing you want to do is put a bunch of crap in it. You want to like fill it with things that are motivating, inspiring, education based, right? So that I'm in the right state when I get to the hard. Okay. I'm also probably going to do a couple of affirmations, right? I'm alive, excited, full of energy, and like affirm my goals and maybe a visualization process, then get ready and come into the office. Now, notice I said, come into the office. Why? Well, when you come into the office, you said today, Tim, I brought this up. It was super cute. Post-COVID, I moved out of my office into my home. And I just got comfortable with that, right? And, I was coaching, I was working with Tom at the time, working with Cheplack at the time, and it was really easy for me just to function inside the office. Today was my first day of our G3 office is launched. We're so excited, right? There was something different about this morning. I woke up like, oh, yeah. I'm like, which watch am I going to wear? What shoes am I going to put on? I love my shoes. I got like 72 shoes. I got 11 watches. I'm like, ooh, and I drove in and I was listening to there was suit up, boot up. There's a whole different game when you're coming into the office. Now I know a lot of you guys, and today real estate is a virtual game a lot of the times, at least have that place that is like your battle room, your bunker where you go into that tells your psyche, it's game time, it's battle time, right? Because you are going to battle every single day, whether you realize it or not. You're battling against yourself, you're battling against the competition, you're battling against the market, you're battling against the limiting beliefs that your clients actually have. It is going to war every single day. And if you don't treat it, or at least playing the freaking game for the Super Bowl is the way I look at it. If you're not playing it that way, then you're just rolling in, right? Without that pregame ritual, man, yeah, Tim, you're battling yourself for sure, right? So you get into the office, right? And now you're in just like this different state, okay? Right? Or you get into your bunker of wherever that is in your house and you're like, it's game time. Well, now you have your AMBR, Alpha Mary Bravo Richard, your morning business routine. What does this consist of? Well, this is typically from the time you get into the office, until 12 o'clock. Now, I know a CEO does not punch the clock, right? They're a little bit more fluid. They have meetings throughout the course of the day. For us, that 3 hour to 4 hour segment in the morning should be centralized around one thing. What do you guys think that one thing needs to be that that morning is designed around? If you're really the CEO, and keep in mind, the CEO of any organization, you know what their job is? Move big projects forward, right? And protect the culture of the organization. It needs to be like your morning up until 12 is all about hunting for business. Hunting for business. Now, when you get in the first 20 to 30 minutes, Jim, it's making sure you have all your calls set, making sure you got everything prepared, making sure you know who you're calling. Now, a lot of that could be done the night before, which we'll talk about here in the last 16 minutes, 15 minutes of the call, right? But I want to roll in, okay? Roll in, same time every single day. Because think about this. Hey, Tim, let's say I hired you and I said, Timmy, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year as a salesperson. Okay. Right. And all I need you to do is show up every morning at 8 o'clock, spend 30 minutes working on your skills in some way, shape, form, or another, whether that's role play or script practice or whatever. I need you to study the market for about 15 minutes, both the national and the local market. And on top of that, I need you to spend 2 hours a day minimum talking to potential clients, leads, or following up on existing clients. I'm just curious, Tim, would you take that job?
That sounds like a good gig.
That's not a damn bad gig at all, right? But see, and I'll tell you, 2 hours per day, 220 days out of the year for 3 years solid, you do that, you will build the skills and you will earn $1 million. I promise you, I would bet on you. I'd bet on every single one of you on this, right? And why? Because I've seen it happen with 58 other people and more, right? Okay, those are just the ones that we've worked with. So I'm going to come in same time every day, like a real job, as if someone's paying me, right? I'm going to treat the morning as if I'm an employee, punch in the clock. I'm going to get some role play in, some practice in. By the way, there's a wonderful software system out there run by Ylopo. It's called Maverick. Judd, I think you use Maverick, right? You guys have Maverick there. Okay. Maverick is artificial intelligence that you can role play with that will rate you. It's a role play partner, Tim. Do you know what the most challenging part about role play partners? They're humans. Right? And when I say they're humans, that's the challenge about role play partners. Some days they show up. Jim, some days they're focused, other days they're not, right? Jim, we've been doing this a long time, you and me, man, okay? But when you have AI, it actually gives you, it shows up every day, Maverick is it, and it'll give you feedback. It'll rate your call. It'll tell you what you did right. It'll tell you what you did wrong. It'll tell you what you need to work on, right? And it's absolutely insane. See, I like it a little bit more than human beings, simply because of the fact that I can rely upon it for consistent feedback. So I'm going to maybe role play 2 or 3 different times, right, on that, on Maverick, and then I'm warmed up. I'm like I don't know, I'm a big Michael Jordan fan. I'm a big Kobe Bryant fan. I'm like the 1990 or the 2000 Lakers or the 90s Bulls, right? I'm warmed up. I'm ready to play the Pistons, right? I'm warmed up. I'm ready to actually go against, whatever other team it is that I'm playing, right? So thank you, Sherry. Sherry put the link in there for Maverick so that you guys can take a look at it and see exactly what it's about. And see, Timmy, for your guys who are prospectors, and that's what I love about this group, is that you guys actually are grinders. And I mean that with a compliment, right? There's a bunch of lazy ass agents out there right now, guys. Right? They don't want to work. They want to market their way to success. They don't want to pick up the phone. They don't want to do the stuff that is necessary to succeed. They blame the market. They blame their broker. They blame everyone else. But the reality is they're blaming this, and they got 3 fingers pointing back at their poor skills, their poor disciplines, and their inability to be able to actually follow through on the stuff that matters, right? That's not this group. Right? So I think you guys would love Maverick, and it'll get you there a lot faster in terms of being able to produce results. Okay. So write down for me 2 to 3 hours. That's your standard. Your business, your income, your life will be dictated and determined based upon the standards that you hold yourself to. That standard of the morning ritual to get yourself in the right state, the standard of showing up on time, the standard of role play, the standard of talking to 10 to 15 people per day. That's all it takes, right? If you talk to 10 to 15, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, you know the numbers inside your organization. If someone's talking to 10 or 15 people per day, 240 days out of the year, 220 days out of the year, that's 20, what is that? Let's do the math really quick. 220 times 15. 15 would be about 3 hours, guys, just so that you know. Do all of you need to do that? No. Some of you have a past client database that gives you the chance to be able to make fewer calls, but at a minimum, it's 10 conversations a day. And a conversation is talking to a decision-making adult, okay? That's
Yeah.
2,200 conversations. I'm going to show you the math. That's 2,200 conversations in a year. Right now, we're seeing that it's about 80 conversations to a transaction. And that puts you at 27 to 30 sales. See, that's global that you can control very easily. Oops, something just happened. Again, do you got me? Okay,
No.
sorry, I hit my microphone. And people say, well, coach, is there a way around that? No, sorry, there's not. Real estate is a contact sport, right? Everything needs to revolve around you being able to hunt and then gather. What is the gather? The gather is your presentation. 3 hours of calling. No, actually, yeah, Tim, it's actually just 2 hours of calling would get them to 25 to 30 transactions, believe it or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but thanks. I really appreciate you putting that. 3 hours per day, 15 conversations would put you up higher than that. Okay. And you do that for 2 or 3 years, you build your database of past clients. All of a sudden, that 80 conversations per closing drops down to 70 or 60. You're now selling 50 to 60 homes. You're at $1 million, my friends, for most of you that are on this call. But it takes a couple of years to build that up, right? So then once I've done 2 hours, and typically, here's how I break that as a CEO down. I'm going to spend an hour per day going after people I've never talked to. I'm going to spend an hour a day cultivating and nurturing my past clients and my leads. It's that simple, guys. Real estate doesn't have to be complicated, right? In fact, the people that are making it complicated are typically trying to sell you something. I want to make it as easy as possible because really all it takes is hard work, right? And good skills, right? And a lot of discipline. And you can actually get to that $1 million mark or 500 or 600 or whatever it is that you want in shorter time than you think. Now, that's your AMBR, right? At noon, it's over, right? What do? Well, if you've done your job in the morning, guess what begins to happen in the afternoon? Judd, what happens if you're doing your job in the morning? Oh, we can't hear Judd. Okay, that's okay. Timmy, if I'm doing 2 hours a day in the morning, guess what? I got appointments. Yeah.
Showings,
There it
showings,
is.
meetings.
I got showings, I've got buyer consultations, I have listing presentations. Now, when I worked with newer agents, honest to goodness, I'd tell them this. I'd say, own it till 12 o'clock, guys. They said, what do I do after 12? I said, go to the movies. Like, what? Like, yeah, go to the movies. If you did 3 hours, you talk to 15 to 20 people, go to the movies. And, coach, now could they do more prospecting in the afternoon? Sure. Could they go preview properties? Absolutely. But like tongue in cheek, I said, go to the movies. Why? Because I knew that after 2 or 3 weeks of them doing that AMBR, that morning business routine, they'd start having appointments. That afternoon would begin to fill up. They wouldn't have the time and the ability to be able to actually not do what they needed to do. So I'm not telling you to go to the movies, right? It's sort of a little tongue-in-cheek joke. But if you do your job in the morning, the afternoon will fill up. Okay? Now, I'm not going to talk to you about, I will give you one hack, okay, guys, on this. I see one of the mistakes, because by the way, how many of you guys have ever called into you've been sick, or you need your attorney, or you need to meet with your accountant, okay? I can call 3 hours, but can't get anyone to answer the phone, okay? Rosemary, first and foremost, I'd have my number checked to see if it's showing up as spam, right? Like legitimately, a lot of numbers, if you do a good amount of calling, they'll get tagged. I would not use, just myself personally, I would use a dialing system, right? An appropriate dialing system. I would have that dialing system be a separate number altogether, right? That I'm calling from, just in case it does get tagged as spam. I'm not having my primary number show up when I'm calling people as spam or unidentified or whatever it is, right? Just a little hack there for you. But for sure, Timmy, do you guys have an internal dialing system, or do you have one that you guys are affiliated or associated with that you like?
We let them choose that on their own. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
tell you, Mojo is a great one. Okay. I think Vulcan 7 has, well, actually, like the dialing systems that are out there are really good. Find one, utilize it, whatever. But here's the key. The data that you get from Tim and the company is the best data I've ever seen, period. There's other resources out there, and I hear complaints all the time. Every single vortex. Okay, good. Okay, love it. Right. So the data, there's a reason why it is that I tell all my clients, go to Timmy, go to ShareGroup. They're the ones that they get the data that's accurate. We in fact use them for our business as well too, right? Just so that you guys know. Now, here's what I would tell you. The little hack I was going to give you is set times in your schedule for the afternoon and early evening that are going to be your appointment times. Block them in there, even if they're not full. Don't worry about it. What your job becomes is to fill those blocks. So if I'm prospecting Tim and Tim's a potential client that I'm talking to, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to, instead of just saying, hey, Tim, what time works best for you? And let him choose. No, a CEO doesn't do that. That's not how, you don't call your attorney and your attorney goes, what time would you like to meet? You don't call the doctor and say, doctor, I need to get in. They don't go, oh, let's just work everything around your schedule. We'll drop everything. How do they manage that? They say, hey, Kathy, we've got time at this time or this time. These are the openings that Bob has, right? You know, for you to be able to get in and meet with him and talk about your financial plan or talk about whatever, right? High level professionals give options of choices. They don't just have it open. That's the way you control your time. That's the way you control your afternoon. And that's the way that you control the clients as well too. So set it up. Typically what you would have is like a 1:30 till 3, 3, you know, like, cause that gives you an hour and a half. Then you have another one at 3:15 until 5 and another one from, or until 4:30. And then another one in the, you know, a couple of, you know, nights that you go, this is going to be my evening appointments. And then you just give the options at that point. That's how you make sure, right? A, it's an alternative choice close, but B, you make sure that your time is protected. Here's the AM, or excuse me, we're now going to move to the PM. PM,
About 5 minutes, coach.
I know,
About.
right? So PM, BR. Paul, Mary, Bravo, Richard. Sun Tzu, the great military strategist, of which if you ever get the chance to read the book, The Art of War is one of my favorite books. That and The Prince by Nikolai Machiavelli, right, were two books that were taught inside of business schools for years. What Sun Tzu said is every battle is won before it's fought. I love that quote, right? See, I think every day, Judd, is determined before it actually takes place, before the sun rises. What? How? In the planning process. So in these next 4 minutes, I'm going to give you the ultimate planning process, and then Sherry will actually send it out to Tim because we've got this all codified for you guys as well too. This has 3 steps to it. You're going to need about 30 minutes to be able to do this. Some of you it may take an hour. You want to have it at the same time every single day in your schedule to be able to plan out the next day. What you're going to do is you're going to start with one question. See, because the mind works in loops, closed loops and open loops. If you don't close down the day, you're going to end up, and tell me if this has ever happened to you guys, waking up and are not going to sleep and your mind's racing and this person I need to call and this email I didn't respond to. How many of you guys have ever had that experience before in your life where you're just like, oh, dude, I forgot this and I should have done that, etc. It's called an open loop. And because it's an open loop, you don't sleep well. And because you don't sleep well, you're not good the next day and it impacts negatively. So here's what you do. Step number 1, you have it in your schedule, right? So step number 1 is this. You ask yourself this question. What calls do I need to make that I haven't made yet today? Who do I need to call back? What calls do I need to make that I haven't made yet? You don't end your day until you do them. So you need 30 minutes, some of you more. Number 2, what emails do I need to respond to or send that I haven't responded to? I'm just shutting things down, putting the nail in that proverbial coffin of the day. Number 3, have I inputted my numbers into whatever tracking and monitoring system that I'm utilizing? Have I inputted my numbers into whatever tracking and monitoring system that I'm using? Why? If you're going to run your business like a CEO, numbers become the language of your business. Constantly looking at, evaluating, but you cannot measure and you cannot evaluate what you're not tracking, right? So whether that's CTE, CSU, whatever tracking system, by the way, part of G3 is CTE. We have a relationship with them. CTE is a really simple tracking system for the solo entrepreneur agent. I love it very much. Great for teams as well too. Okay. And then number 4 is this. Number 4 is, have I planned out my next day? Now, I learned this from Brian Tracy. Lists don't work. By the way, I'd recommend a really good book by Mr. Tracy called Eat That Frog. Eat That Frog. Probably one of the best time management books ever created. Super simple. Lists don't work because typically we do what's easy on a list, not what's effective. All of us have done this, right? We're like, let me just get something off this list. And you end up doing the easy versus the effective. So what you're going to do is you're going to make your list. You're going to prioritize it utilizing a AAA. AAA means the next day, you got to do it immediately. It trumps everything. Okay. All right. An A is something I need to get done before noon. A B is something I need to get done by the end of the day, the next day. And the C is who cares? So what? Doesn't matter. Some of you, if you have an assistant, will use the D. ABC, AAA, A, B, C, D. The D is delegate it to somebody. So you sit down and you go, cool, what's all the stuff for tomorrow? Cool, is that AAA? Is that an A? Is it a B or a C? Then you take that off the list and you put it into your calendar because things do not happen unless they're scheduled, period. I learned this from Darren Hardy. I was talking to Darren Hardy years ago. Gosh, it was almost a decade ago. Darren said, what's really important for you in your life? I said, the most important thing is my family. He said, Bill, then show me your calendar. Tim, I opened up my calendar and showed it to him. And he said this, you're full of shit. His words, quoting him directly. I go, what do you mean? He goes, your family's nowhere in your calendar. You say they're important, but if you got everything else in here, but your family's not in there, how are they important? If it's not in your calendar, not in your schedule, it doesn't exist. It's not going to get done. So you just migrate all that over. And then you execute on it the next day. The only thing that you do not move is your lead generation, your lead follow-up, that block of time that you have. So there's one more, which is the PMPR, but I won't go into that. You'll actually get it in what we send over to you guys. But listen, this is the process, the system that I've used with thousands of people to be able to get them to make better choices, to be able to drive their business, to be able to increase the revenue that's coming in, and ultimately the profits and the margins that they're experiencing as well too. It's not complicated. It's super simple. The hardest part is it requires hard work, right? And discipline over time. So Tim, I hope they got value today out of
That's awesome. Absolutely. It's I think it's just the reminder we need, and the 4 phases of the day is something that we talked about probably a year ago, I think, when your first chats with our team. So you did it. You nailed it. Please reach out to Coach Pipes if you have any questions. He'd love to coach you or your team. Thank you all for joining. Have a great August. Let's go get it. Thank you.